Measures of central tendencies. Many of you have probably never heard of that title before, measures of central tendencies, but you do know what they mean. You've heard of mean, median, mode, and range. Those are measures of central tendencies. Okay, so let's start with question 1. In the past month, a real estate agent has sold 6 homes priced at the following amounts. Okay, so those 6 homes were those 6 prices. We're going to find the mean, the median, the mode, and the range of these selling prices. Okay, starting with mean. What's another word for mean? Average. How do you calculate an average? Right, you add it all up and you divide by how many there are. So the first thing that I want you to do is add them up. So take your calculator, add up those 6 selling prices. What did you get, Alex? Okay, do y'all agree? 885,400.
Hang on.
620,000. You missed one.
I got 885,400.
Okay, so it is 885,400, but is that the mean?
No, you got to divide that by 4.
Right. To find the mean, you now have to divide that by
6.
how many things you added up, which was 6. And you get what, Alex?
100.
Okay, so I'm going to round it to 6, 7. So the average selling price for this real estate agent, his average home that he sells is around $147,000, 566.67 cents. Okay? All right. Now let's talk about median. What's another word for median? Middle. Okay? So another word for median is middle. Now, when you have 6 numbers, is there a number in the middle? There's 2 middle numbers. Right. When you have 2 middle numbers, you add those 2 middle numbers and divide by 2, which is doing what to them? Averaging them. So, which are the 2 middle numbers? 145. What is the rule before you can find the median? You have to list them from least to greatest. So, what was the lowest selling price? 118,700. What was the next lowest price?
133.
133,500. Okay, and as I rewrite them, I'm going to mark them out down here. That way I know that I haven't forgotten them. Then 145,300.
Then 155,900.
155,900.
158.
158,000.
174.
And then 174,000.
So it's going to be
Okay.
145.
I know that in a data list this short, you're probably not going to forget one, but your data lists are not all going to be this short. So I highly recommend some kind of system like marking them out so that you don't forget one number, because that one number will mess up all of your answers. Okay? Okay, so now, like we said, the median is the middle number. Well, in this case, there's 2 numbers that split the middle, so you average them. What's 145,300 plus 155,900?
301,200.
Okay, but that's just the sum of the 2 middles. Since there's 2 middles, divide by 2, so what's the median?
150,600.
Right. Okay, now, time for the mode. What's another word for mode? Most. Okay, the number that occurs the most. Do we have a selling price that occurred the most? No, so there's no mode. You can write no mode, you can write none. Why could you not write a 0?
Because then it's going to, 0 is a number.
0 is a number, and there's no home that sold for $0. Okay? Alright, range. How do we find the range? You find the greatest number and the lowest number, and you subtract them. Which one goes first? The highest. So you do 174,000 minus 118,700, and so your range equals questions so far?
No, but this is easy.
Because we're going to need it for future lessons. This is a review. This should not be anything new to anybody. Okay. In question 1, suppose this real estate agent also sold another home during that month, priced at $245,000. Where would that go in our list? The very last one, because that's the highest selling price. Okay, how does this price affect the mean? Does it raise it or lower it? Right, the mean will increase. What will the new mean be? How could we quickly find the new mean? But do I need to add up all of these again and divide by 7 now?
Take 885,000 and add that.
Right. It's a good thing we wrote this down and didn't just write the final answer, because now we can take the sum of our first 6 homes, add it to the 7th home, and divide by 7, and what do you get? 161,485.71. Now, let me show a common mistake that students make when doing these problems. I'm going to add them all up. Well, actually, I'll just add up the 885,400. Okay, 885,000. There's just 400, right? And then I'm adding it to his 7th home, which is 245,000. A lot of students do this. Right here, they'll just say divided by 7. Is that the mean that we got? Could you have an average of 920,400 for these homes? No. He didn't even sell a home near that price. So there's no way that could be the average selling price. What did I do wrong? Right. It's only dividing the 245,000 by 7. It's not dividing all of that by 7. If you want to type it in all at one time, what do you have to do? Parentheses. So if I go back and I type in a parentheses, second insert parenthesis right there, and if I go to the beginning, and type in, hold on, I went off there. I'll just retype it. Parenthesis, 885,400 plus 245,000. See the difference? This had no parentheses, so only the 245,000 was divided by 7. This has parentheses, letting the calculator know divide all of that by 7. See the difference in the answer? So you cannot forget parentheses. Now, if you don't have to worry about that, what should you do? Can you just type it in like this, 885,400 plus 245,000 equals, and then take that number, divide by 7? Okay, that's the way most of you probably do it. But if you try to type it all in one line, you have to have parentheses. Okay. So now, how does it affect the range? Will the range increase or decrease, Javante? It will also increase. What will the new range be? Right, because now we have a new high. So we do 245,000 minus 118,700, which gives us a new range that was larger, a lot larger. Okay, number 3. The fat content of 7 different sandwiches available at restaurant A are 42 grams of fat, 61 grams of fat, 13, 17, 25, 45, and 30. We're going to find the measures of central tendencies for this problem. So starting with the mean. What's another word for mean? Average. And how do you average numbers? Okay. So first add them all up. 42 plus 61 plus 13 plus 17 plus 25 plus 45 plus 30.
232.
233. That's that typo.
Probably.
Okay, then that's not the mean though. That's just the sum. What do?
did.
Divide by 7.
Look. 7. Okay, tell us right there, 7. So what's the mean?
33 point.
So the average sandwich at this restaurant has about 33.29 grams of fat. Now let's talk about median. What's another word
30.
for median?
Middle.
Middle. Okay, well what's the rule though? What do you have to do first?
You have to lay them out from least to
Order.
greatest.
So what's the lowest amount of fat?
13.
Okay, then I'm going to cross it out so that I know I've used it. Then what? Then 25. Hold on, slow down. Then 30.
42, 45,
Then 45.
61.
And then 61. Since we
It's
have
30.
an odd amount of data items, we are going to have a middle. And what's in the middle? 30. So you don't have to worry about averaging because there is one middle number. Okay, mode. What does mode mean again? Most. The number that occurs the most. Do any of those
9.
numbers occur more? No. So there's no mode or none, however you want to write it. And then range. How do you find range? Subtract highest minus lowest. What is the highest? What's the lowest? So it's a range of?
48.
Okay, I'm going to give you a few minutes to try number 4 on your own. See where I'm hovering up here at the stat button? Hit stat. And then we're going to put in the data. So go to edit, hit enter. Now, I know that on this paper we have 5 columns, but we're not going to put them in 5 different columns. That would mean 5 different types of data. Isn't all of this data all under number of hours spent sleeping at night? They only wrote it in 5 columns to save room on the paper. They're not 5 different data sets. We're putting all 30 numbers in list 1. The way you enter them in list 1 is you'll type them like 5, enter, then 9, enter, 8, enter, 6, enter, 9, enter, 10, enter. And then you continue in list 1 with the next column. 8, enter, 8, enter, 10, enter, 8, enter, 8, enter, 7, enter. Okay, then you go to the next column. 6, 7, 7, 8, 7, 8. 6, 7, 7, 8, 7, 8. Okay, then you enter in the next set. 7, 5, 7, 7, 5, 8. And then you enter in the last list. 4, 9, 8, 8. And then 9, 6. Once you've entered them all, how many numbers should you have?
30.
30. Well, actually, see, it is on the 31st spot, but isn't the 31st spot actually blank? So that 6 is your 30th number. Okay? So now that they're entered, when we come back from lunch, I'm going to show you how to calculate the mean, median, and range on the calculator. All we've done so far is we hit stat, edit, and then in list 1, because we only have one list of data here. In all of that under the same data, it's all under number of hours slept at night. So all of it goes under list 1. Now that you have all 30 data items in list 1, you hit stat again, but now we're going to do something with it. So go over to calc. Now, we only have one variable here. The only variable in this problem is number of hours slept tonight. So hit enter. Isn't our data in list 1? Okay, so we don't have a frequency list. We'll talk about what that means later, but for now, just go down, hit calculate, and a bunch of information pops up. This first number, x bar, that is the symbol for mean. So your mean is 7.4. So right here, I would write x bar beside it so that you'll start learning it. Your mean is 7.4. Okay, then go back to that calculator. Now look, everybody look. I don't see any other information on here other than the fact that I put in 30 numbers. The lowest number was 4, but if you scroll on down, you'll see the median is 8 and the max is 10. Okay, so median 8. Well, if the calculator tells us that the max was 10 and the min was 4, what's the range? 6. Now, the only thing the calculator doesn't do for you is the mode. So, which number up here occurs the most? 8. Okay, which measure of central tendency, so you think, gives the best indication of the number of hours the typical person spends sleeping each night? So which one of these, the mean, the median, the mode, or the range, would be the best representation of a typical person and how many hours they sleep? Okay, this is kind of a bad question for this data because aren't all three of these very close?
Yeah.
So really, any of these three would be a good indication of how many hours the typical person sleeps tonight. I'm going to tell you, most of the time, the median is the best measure of central tendency to represent any data set. Let's talk about why. Let's talk about what happens when you take a mean. Say that on the next test, everybody in here makes an A except for 2 people, and they make like a 10 or a 20, like really low. So say we have all A's, and then we have a 10 and a 20. Isn't that going to pull the mean down possibly into a B? Okay, well, does a B represent what most people made? No, most people made an A. But when you do the mean, don't you have to include every number, which even includes the outliers, the numbers that are far away? So that's why the mean sometimes does not represent all the data, because outliers can throw off the data. Now, the mode. Say you have, this is just a made-up data set. Say you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 9, 9, 9. Okay, well, what's the mode? 9. But does 9 really represent all of the data? No. So the mode can also not be a good idea to represent most of the data. But look, when you have the median is the what? The middle. Well, in this case, we have 2 middle numbers. What's the average of 4 and 9? 6.5, because you'd have to add them together, divide by 2. Doesn't 6.5, isn't that the best number to represent all of those numbers?
Yeah.
So normally the median is the best representation of all the data. Does that make sense? Because the mean, outliers can throw off, the number, and that might not represent all the data. Mode, for obvious reasons, isn't always a good representation, but the median normally is. Okay. Number 7, suppose another person was surveyed who said that he spends 3 hours sleeping at night. How would this affect the mean, median, mode, and range? Okay, well, if you put in another data item and it's a 3, what's that going to do to the mean? The mean will what? Decrease. Okay, look, you don't have to do this on the calculator. I'll just show you. Our current mean was 7.4. If I go back into that list and I enter a 3 at the bottom, that's the 31st person. He sleeps 3 hours. And now if I go in and I calculate the mean, look at my new mean. It is 7.25. Isn't that a little bit lower than the mean was without the 3? So the mean decreases. Okay, what about the median? Will the median change? It's kind of hard to just say without actually writing them all out in order, but for this one it won't change. It'll still be 8. There's so many 8s that even though, yes, the middle number gets shifted left because of the 3 being added into the front end, it still lands on another 8. So the median will still be 8. Okay, the mode will still be 8 because, yeah, they threw in a 3, but wasn't that the only 3 there was? So that definitely doesn't take, the 8's still obviously the most. Right. The range, what's our high? 10, and our low is now, so the range will now be 7. The range increases by 1 because we had a one lower number go into the data set. Okay, this is what I want you to do for the remainder of class, and whatever you don't finish is homework. And it does not require this kind of calculator. You could use a phone calculator for this. Page 2. So you're going to work on page 2, and then when it's near time for the bell, I'll tell you to switch out. You'll finish the rest for homework.